Emojis, are you allowed to use them in your marketing? Whether it is a post on Facebook or inside of your videos, we're talking to a professional lawyer and law professor all about why you can or cannot use emojis in your marketing.
My name is Tony Iliakostas. I'm an adjunct professor of entertainment law and IP at New York Law School, and I have an Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok account called the IP Professor that's dedicated to all things intellectual property.
Entrepreneurs love using emojis in their marketing materials, be it the words on their Facebook posts, on their website, or in the videos they are creating. But Tony, are there any legal hangups we need to know about copyright when it comes to using these emojis? Are we allowed to do this, or do we need to be careful?
I would say I'm of course of the mindset that you want to err on the side of caution when you're using emojis, and that's mainly because any emoji, whether you're talking about a standard smiley face or even like a depiction of sushi or any other emoji design that's out there in the emoji keyboard, each individual one is its own individual copyright, and we've talked about this plenty of times. Copyright is an original work of authorship that's fixed in a tangible medium of expression. And arguably, you could say that every single emoji design that exists on every single person's keyboard that has the emoji keyboard available, each of those designs is a work of authorship. There was craftsmanship that went into making that emoji design possible. You have a smiley face with maybe raised eyebrows, or you have a crying emoji face, or you have the laughing crying emoji face. Every single item is a work of authorship in the sense that it's a pictorial, graphic, or sculptural work. Pictorial, obviously, in this case. And the fixation in a tangible medium of expression happens by way of binary code, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, the whole thing. That allows everybody to see a specific image in its own unique manner on these platforms. But one thing I'll say is that every emoji keyboard varies in design, and with it comes varying copyright ownership. So, for example, the Apple keyboard, emoji keyboard, that is its own unique copyright design that is distinct from, let's say, Google's or from Samsung's or WhatsApp, any other company out there that has generated their own rendition of an emoji keyboard. All of those are going to have their own unique design, and with it comes their own unique copyright ownership. So yes, every emoji keyboard out there, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram, or, well, Instagram may be a bit broad, but let's say Facebook specifically, and let's say Apple, Google Play, all that, all of those keyboards are all going to have the same general designs of a smiley face, crying face, all that. But it's the way it's animated. So I know, like, let's say on Google, if you were on Gmail, the emojis usually are like little square heads. But meanwhile, if it were on Windows, it looks like, at least the one I've seen normally, it looks like it's like a droopy, like it looks like a blob with an emoji. But then on the Apple keyboard, it's a round figure, usually if you're going to send like a smiley face. So all the designs are going to vary. Therefore, all those creators all those creations are going to be individual and different, distinct copyrights.
That makes a lot of sense. So if we have to then be careful of the copyright to make sure we're not infringing it when we're creating our marketing materials, what's a way that we could still get the same effect but not have to worry about infringement?
Yeah, so I want to, well, two things to that. So one, as Cam's alluding to, because there are copyrights that are vested with, let's say, Apple for their version of the emoji keyboard, or with Google for their version of an emoji keyboard, because they own the copyright to those designs, if you wanted to use their renditions, you would have to get permission from them to use that, and if you're using it for commercial purposes. I think there's a little bit of wiggle room if, let's say, you were using it for commentary purposes, so a fair use argument could be viable there. But if you're using it to, let's say, sell a product, like, let's say, a book, an ebook that you released, or a course that you're going to have, or a retreat, any product that you're trying to sell to solicit a transaction, that's where a license would be required. And so you would have to go to Apple if you want to use Apple's rendition of an emoji. You would have to go to Samsung if you want Samsung's rendition of an emoji. You would have to go to Google for Google's rendition of an emoji. If you're unsuccessful because they just don't get back to you, or if the license is quite costly, the workaround to that is make your own version of an emoji. And that's where you could consider hiring let's say a graphic designer or some other artist as a work for hire, ask them to make to commission work to make a series of different emoji designs that are unique and distinct from all other emoji designs. And once they generate the work, by way of a contract, which, of course, you want to make sure that you have your contracts in place when you're dealing with work for hire situations, it would be understood that once the project is completed, the copyright ownership will convey back to you. And so now you have a double whammy there. You have emojis and you theoretically own the copyright to it as long as you had a work for hire agreement in place. So once you have that work product, you can now exhibit your rendition of the emojis in any type of advertising whatsoever, whether that's as static posts or even in reels.
That makes a lot of sense. So this is something that applies to products that we're creating, to our marketing. It also applies to things like social media posts. Is that right?
Yes, so it will apply across the board, no matter what the landscape is. Again, just being mindful that you're not, using any emojis that could infringe on an existing emoji design. And that's the other aspect to it. You would want to make sure that when you're working with your graphic designer to make your own version of an emoji, you're telling them, or you're telling your designer to not copy in any way, shape, or form what Google has or what Apple has, because at the end of the day, that could be the door that opens up liability for some type of copyright infringement claim. And usually in copyright infringement claims, it's all a matter of whether or not there is substantial similarity that exists between the original copyrighted work and the infringing work. And substantial similarity normally has two it's like a seesaw effect. There are kind of like two aspects to it, where one, there's a simple, copying, but copying in the sense of like more of like inspiration or like little elements were touched on here and there, versus a complete appropriation of the original work of authorship, where you're frame for frame, cell by cell, pixel by pixel, copying the original work of authorship into your infringing work. That's where it becomes problematic. That's where there could be a satisfaction of the substantial similarity prong under copyright infringement claims. Of course, it's all relative based on facts. It's also going to be quite, it's going to vary depending on who the trier of fact is. Is it going to be a judge or a jury listening to your claim? God forbid it ever got to that point, but you never know. So just being mindful of all those situations, having parameters in place, exercising precautions, that's going to be the name of the game when you're creating your own emoji. Either way, once you do it and there isn't anything wrong with it, it's completely kosher, and definitively it's not going to infringe on any existing copyright, then you're good to go. And I would say, if you're worried about that, be creative. Apple's emoji keyboard, let's say for their figurines or their characters that usually have the smiley face or the crying face or whatever, they're all yellow. But let's say that your color scheme in your product line is, let's say, blue. Make a blue emoji. Or if it's pink, make a pink emoji. I think there are various ways to effectively send the message without blatantly copying someone else's copyright. So many ways to do it. That's where, you have the vision as the curator or the creator of whatever you're trying to sell or promote. Go for it, work with your designer, and you'll get something done that'll be great.
And I love the idea of creating your own suite of emojis, because you can use that to then community build inside of the platform you're creating and encourage your users to also jump on board with this. Is there anything we need to know about allowing our users, our members, our followers to then use our suite of emojis to talk about what we're doing on the platform?
Yeah, I mean, I have some knowledge of this because once upon a time when I was working in another rights and clearances agency, I used to represent the estate of Albert Einstein. And one of my projects that I worked on is I created a whole suite of emojis of Albert Einstein Emoji, still available in the App Store and Google Play Store. Check it out. Not a plug, not sponsored, but but it was a great way for us as the representatives of the estate to reach out to the 25 plus million followers of Einstein across Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter to say, hey, here's another way that you can appreciate Einstein, and you could do it in a fun way by, to your point, building a community and communicating with one another. And it was great. I mean, it was up there with Kimmoji. It was up there even with Ellen DeGeneres' emoji keyboard. It was just like, it was in that era of like the 2015, 16, 17 era where every celebrity had their own emoji keyboard. And so when we jumped on the bandwagon, it was very innovative because there really wasn't a deceased celebrity that was doing something like this, but we made this suite available to everybody else to, have them, give them the liberty to enjoy it in whatever way they could. So I think that if you figure out, if you're a creator out there that figures out that maybe keep making your own emoji keyboard could be the way to go, then, and you're sampling it by, let's say, using it in static posts or in videos, and it gets a lot of popularity, what's stopping you there? Maybe you can use it as an opportunity to work with a graphic designer to build out an entire keyboard that can then be available on an app store. It's your choice to decide to make it free, or maybe make it for like 99 cents or something. I mean, it could either be a manner of building community, or building community and maybe making some passive income. Yeah, I guess that's something that would be relative to each creator. But I love the idea of emoji keyboards, because I think, again, to your point, Cam, it's about creating and building a community, and I think a lot of people could kind of enjoy a little something like that. It's like a little like a treat, if you will.
Absolutely. If you've got further questions on how to properly leverage emojis inside of your marketing, go ahead and drop those down below. And as always, you can reach out to Tony on his social medias, where he is keeping you legally protected in all of the IP and entertainment spaces. So Tony, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok at the IP Professor, and you can check out my podcast, NScene, and Entertainment Law Podcast, every Friday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Have more questions like this? Drop it down below, because Tony's coming back for more episodes to keep you legally protected in the entrepreneurial space. And every single day, we are helping you to level up on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, live streaming, Lemon8, and with the tools and resources you need to save time and effort creating your content so you can make more money online but spend less time and stress doing it. We'll see you in the upcoming episodes.